Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, hello, hello.
There's so much going on right now, guys. So much information, so much disinformation, so much like taking good messages and getting them twisted. So much distortion. There's such a cast of characters. There are infiltrators at all levels, even areas that maybe we, really, really have come to trust as well. Different sources. Recognize again. Well, if we want to take it biblically, who rules this world? Well, Satan. Maybe we look at it from a little bit more, Star Wars-ish era and say, well, these evil Draco reptilians, along with some gray henchmen, and also they happen to have some Nordic Pleiadian types that are under their control. As we know, right, angels can fall, can they? Well, people can fall through densities. People can evolve in a positive way or in a negative way. Everyone has emotions, and everyone has an ego to some extent. And if we let our ego get control of us, then perhaps we can fall vibrationally as well.
Mm-hmm. And if people are swayed the right way with the right information, they might not even really understand or feel that they have fallen in any way. They might be acting out of the goodness of their very own heart. And that's probably one of the biggest thing that scares me.
Yeah, one of the biggest, things with us is we want to really live what we speak, and that's why we work on a donation basis. Unfortunately, we're still in the matrix. We want to get out of the matrix. We don't want to be controlled by the matrix. But right now there's still this Babylonian money magic system in effect. But we choose to operate on donation, and we don't on purpose. We've had so many different people and groups and businesses contact us to sponsorship. And, maybe gold and silver, having it physically in your hands is a good thing, but I don't want to sell anything. I just don't want to sell anything. I don't want to push the system. So we choose not to. We could make a lot more money than we do, but we don't want it to corrupt the message because, we are here all about the message. And that's why we operate the way that we do. So, actually, back when I was in Florida, I got offered to do a seminar in Tampa that would have paid money and, could have been the stepping stone to what a lot of people do, going around doing seminars, getting paid guest fees that are very, very high, book deals, all this. We don't want to sell our soul to the system. So that's why we operate the way we do, so that hopefully we could be an example of what's possible, getting out of this system, still being true to yourself. Yes, we do have ads on YouTube, but without that, then, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And all day long is just about pursuing our spiritual pursuits and communicating to you guys that which we know and those messages we get from higher powers, higher vibrational powers. Mm-hmm. So the most important thing for us is living our life's purpose. That's our bottom line. And we see here a Harvard professor says an alien visited in 2017 and more are coming. And I don't doubt it for a second. Avi Loeb, the chair of Harvard's Department of Astronomy, believes he's already found some of that garbage, meaning an alien civilization's trash. And they're talking about Oumuamua, which means scout. And we've talked about this a lot. This cylindrical object, which happens to be this shape that would make sense in interstellar travel. It's also the shape that has been associated with those Draco reptilian ships throughout the years. Well, it did stuff that it shouldn't do unless it was intelligently controlled. And this is it right there, that little dot. It came in and used the gravitational force of the sun to slingshot off at a different trajectory. This is amazing stuff. This is amazing stuff. And many scientists said, hey, whoa, that shouldn't happen. unless it's a ship and it's not an asteroid, not a comet. And we shared with you guys that we got that it was a ship. Most definitely, it was a ship. But what we got was that it wasn't empty, as some have said. Some have said that basically this was an empty ship, even a ship that was of the ancient builder races, and that it was empty. And that even they have witnessed video from it being boarded and etc. Again, be aware there's going to be people out there that are going to be giving you 95% of the truth, maybe even 99% of the truth. But if they were giving you 100% of the truth, they wouldn't be alive. Right. They would not be alive. And they especially wouldn't be, in a position where perhaps they're thriving and doing well with the fiscal system. That just wouldn't be. They wouldn't be allowed to. The only way they would be allowed to continue is if there's a certain spin put to it, or down the line, because you could be getting 100% truth right now, but maybe sowing the seeds of doubt in certain benevolent entities that will get involved at some point once humanity's crossed a certain threshold, or the dark side's crossed a certain threshold, that enables them to act without interfering in our own free will. Because that they won't do. And so when we look over to Revelation, and a lot of the Bible is to be taken symbolically. A lot of it is layered. There's many different meanings. There's just parables that are basic morals. And then there's things that are a little deeper that actually refer to things like chakras and energy systems and the pineal gland. Think about Jacob's ladder, and he wrestled with the Lord. And, he actually says pineal. Because that's how you get there, is with activating the pineal gland, the kundalini. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth with their armies assembled to wage war against the one seated on the horse and against his army. So, the beast and his assembled army going to wage war against the one on the horse. And we talk about Christ coming back on the horse. And some things that would be taken literally, some things symbolically. Interesting at the same time, Kalki on the horse from the Vedic tradition. And I actually think the Imam Mahdi is on the horse too in the Islamic tradition. Interesting how these things come through. But every tradition has been broached, and every tradition has been infiltrated. And that's just the way it is, because again, who rules this world from a Christian standpoint, or just a biblical Abrahamic? Satan, the adversary. The adversary. Who is the adversary to humanity? Well, it's the one that wants to put humanity and keep them in slaves' chains. And we see the depictions of that in the Sumerian reliefs. Humans tied neck to neck, hands tied behind their backs, and being led around, told what to do, and even sometimes having giants with their feet squishing down on the human's chest so the human can't move. We talk about the Pleiadians, and we are in contact with two of them from the Pleiades. And the way the messages come through, sometimes Cindy's awake, and she just gets a direct communication coming through. Other times, she's not. So, sometimes she's channeling. Other times, she's in a direct kind of psychic communication with them. She can't tolerate Kira's energy so much. Kira's very, very militaristic and warlike, because this war extends through the densities. It's here on 3D, 4D. It's also in 5D. And perhaps it even goes higher than that, as we have been talking about. So most often it's Laurel that comes through, but there's other entities that come through with Cindy, and other ones have been coming through for a long time. We have been in direct communication with a being called Babaji. And Babaji is a spiritual master who is thought to be an incarnation of Shiva. And Babaji is an immortal that is said to still walk the earth. We've also gotten direct communication from Lakshmi, which is another of the Vedic gods, and Hanuman as well. And we've also recently been in communication with Yeshua, Jesus of the Bible, And there's interesting things there that we will communicate at a later time. But all these beings are what many would recognize as being ascended masters, quote unquote. Kuan Yin, another one, Tara. We could go into different traditions, and we could say Saint Germain as well. There's many different beings. The Master Hilarion, so many. Sananda, There's beings that are really pulling for humanity in all different traditions.
Well, I think what's really important to understand is these beings, they want us to be able to use our free will. They don't want to interrupt our human experience and our ability to learn, because that's the biggest gift we've been given to come here, is to learn and have soul growth. So they do things in such a way where we're still making the decision to believe on our own.
And so, there are many people out there that are giving information that, again, is mostly true. And they really, really want to help with ascension. They want people to understand what ascension is. They want people to understand that we live in a galactic society. There's so many different types of life out there. And there's interdimensionals as well as the extraterrestrials. And again, many are doing everything they can, but their literal life would be in danger if they overstep certain bounds. And, there's been so many cases with so many people having gotten warnings. And, we ourselves have gotten warnings many, many times and had other, entities reach out to us. And when I say entities, I mean human beings of a 3D type in a position of power. They are always looking to utilize people with abilities and with inside information. That's just par for the course. And again, you have to recognize that when it comes down to it, a lot of people will do everything they can to a certain point. And when we look at what happened in, Nazi Germany, for instance, and as we're looking at the Nordic aliens, the Nazis came in contact with the reptilians, through Maria Orsai. Let me see if that's not the one I wanted. That's who I'm. There she is, Maria Orsic, the Vril Society. Now, the Vril is life force, right? Vril is chi, ki, prana. That's the Holy Spirit, the life force. And so when we see the depictions of the apostles with this fire on the top of their head, right at where the crown chakra is, what is happening? Well, they basically have had their kundalini awakened, and they're able to do a lot of things, including basically speak to each other and understand other languages. They have, all the gifts of the Spirit. So these gifts of the Spirit are what happen when your kundalini is activated, your chakras are open, and you're able to have the Holy Spirit flow through you, which is the life force, ki, chi, prana, vril. It's all labels, but it's all talking about the same thing. So she was a very, very gifted medium that got the Nazis in contact with these ETs. Now, unfortunately, the ones that they got in contact with were Nords, as well as others. But they were not the ones that are the benevolent Nords. They are not the ones that are working under the Galactic Federation. They were the ones that have been, quote-unquote, fallen, and they are under the power of the Draco. And again, the food chain goes, really what the food chain goes is from, many people view the ultimate source of evil as the demiurge of Gnosticism. Some view it as this AI, artificial intelligence blackness that's out there. That's kind of it's technology based, and thus it's kind of soulless, and so it doesn't have a love for life because it doesn't have the divine spark of source inside it like we do. So there you go with that jealousy, that whole thing, that biblical jealousy, right? There's even references to that in the Bible that we see. And of course, the grays are worker bees. Most of those are just machines, part machine, but also part flesh. And often it's flesh from people that are abducted, taking their their cells and their DNA and creating more worker bees. So we go from that. If you're talking the Gnostic point of view, that demiurgic entity, but what Cindy has gotten is that the demiurge, and I've always felt it too, because there were schools of Gnosticism that didn't think the demiurge was evil. She gets that the demiurge is simply like a computer program that can be used for good or evil.
Oh, absolutely. It's not something, you don't just write it off as something that's evil. You don't just simply dismiss it. The thing is it has the ability to react to intention or one's intent. And that's what the controllers understand. They understand that they can get this thing to act the way they want it to via their intent. So that shows how important our intent really is. You know, we can use this energy and have the intent for good. And that's why we do talk to you guys about your intent and ask you to put out the intention for a peaceful outcome and a gentle change, because things are definitely going to change. It's really, really critical. Our intent is everything.
It's where your heart is, basically. So the Nordic / Palladian type of aliens that came in contact with Maria Orsic and thus helped the Nazis get the technology again are the negative ones that are under control of the Anunnaki. Now, the Anunnaki is a big term, but the reptilian Anunnaki, such as going back into ancient days, Enlil and Enki, the ones that tampered with our DNA, shut off certain things so that we couldn't get the regenerative ability that we're supposed to have and actually live 10 times what we actually do live physically. Because we would gain so much knowledge over those lifespans, they have to keep us in the dark, keep us reincarnating in a shorter time period. And that's what's done also with everything that we see happening in the food supply and the air around us. It's all kind of keeping humanity locked down, putting fluoride in the water, sending out different sorts of signals that are going to disrupt our brains and interfere with our clear thinking. So, they got in contact with a group that you may even call Palladian, but these are not the ones that are under the power of the Galactic Federation. And be aware that people can be channeling, quote unquote, or in contact with these Pleiadian, certain branch of Pleiadians, and you're not in contact with the ones from the Galactic Federation. You're in contact with the ones that were basically working for the same cause as the Nazis and the reptilians and the Draco. Because what they want you to do is they want you to get ready, to lash out at the Galactic Federation. Get ready to, as we saw in Revelation 19 over here, get ready to be one of those soldiers in the armies assembled to wage war against the good guys. This is what their purpose is. This is why they acknowledge the secret space program. This is why, they acknowledge the fact that the Galactic Federation exists, because now they're going to paint them in a bad light. And at some point, the wars of the gods will occur again. And we see this all through the Vedic legends and even before the Vedas. This is something that's resonated and has been shared with all sorts of indigenous traditions. They've seen this happen. They know that these are real events. And, of course, the depictions look kind of silly. Flying elephants, flying horses, flying chariots. It's the language. They didn't have the language to truly describe it. And then also things have been purged throughout time. But we still do see some pretty cool flying saucer type of things. We see people that look like they're piloting UFOs, flying saucers, etc., rocket ships. And then we even have evidence that there were nuclear events on this planet. We could tell. We can radiocarbon date things. We could see that there's areas where, it's just like glass that's formed. We see the same thing over in the test sites of Nevada, as we see over in the Sinai Peninsula, as well as other areas. These events really happen. And there's a really good chance that you guys and we, perhaps, will see them happen again. We'll see the wars of the gods taking place in the skies above us.
Well, my hope is that it's not going to go that far where it has gone in the past, because it does interrupt the ether, the very fabric of our existence. And when there's an explosion like this or a disruption like this, it doesn't just go through the 3D level. It rips through the dimensions, and it really causes problems. And this is where I really feel that there would be intervention.
Yeah, and we hope there would be of the good guys coming in. And the dark side has counted on this, and of course they've run their innumerable scenarios. Imagine the AI intelligence that beings that have 10,000 years on us, 100,000 years on us, 1,000,000 years on us would have. They'd be able to run the outcome in just seconds with all the different variables, understand all the timelines, understand exactly what they would need to do to keep nudging it in the direction that they want it to go. Buddha once said, don't believe anything because I tell you. Don't believe it because your teachers tell you, your parents tell you, your priests, the monks. Don't believe anything because anybody tells you anything. You have to go through with your logical mind and then weigh it in your heart and just feel what feels right for you. So it's the same thing with us, always weigh everything and just go with what feels right. Now we're just trying to give you guys what we have gotten. And people have said, well, how can you discern whether the energies are good or bad? Well, if your kundalini is not awakened and your pineal gland is not functioning, you won't be able really probably to discern. So, it comes through having these abilities working and enhancing them every way you can through hours of meditation every day, through QiGong and mantras, and also from other lifetimes. As there are many beings that are here today that don't have to be here. They're just simply here to help pull as many as they can up into the higher realms so they don't get stuck in the cycle of basically rebirth into a lower vibrational frequency world.
And I also think it's important to note that sometimes people are just simply not a vibrational match to certain entities. And, with me, when it comes to the draconian energies, the reptilian energies, I have a pretty seriously bad reaction and I can't tolerate it. So if I bump into somebody that I feel has that, it's painful, and I'm not much of a huge fighter. But Kira, her energy, wow, it'll send my heart just really going. So I don't channel her a lot, like in a trance channel. But she's benevolent. But what I will do is, if I do get information, sometimes she'll send it through Laurel for me to convey. And if it's something serious, then absolutely she'll step in my energy field and she'll let me know it's serious.
Yeah, it's, for one, with Cindy, she can't tolerate the dark energy. Both of us know instinctively right away, because all of our lives we've seen it, that it's a dark entity. We're just used to it, and now I can visually see the energies. Whereas Cindy gets more of a, with her mind, she has such a good integration between her third eye and her visual eyes, but she sees with her third eye all the time. I'll get impressions, but then I actually see energy patterns visibly. So, in the middle of the night, I'll sense something. This happens almost every single night, sometimes multiple times. We had at least 3 different, what should we say? 3 different entities, basically, that we encountered last night, of which 2 extremely benevolent, and then 1 not so benevolent that was actually sent by or is under control of these same dark reptilian energies that control the planet. Now we both saw it visually last night, and it was very real. But this is something that we go through. It wasn't able to enter really close to us because we do have protection from the higher vibrational realms. And when the energies of the benevolent ones come in to us, they're right next to us. And I could see them energetically. Cindy could see them through her third eye. And so, we both give verification for that. So, it's something that the discernment's there. This is, again, something that we've both experienced going back to childhood. I think my first remembrance is at about 5 years of age, clearly, seeing an entity. And I saw several at that time. And then at 7, I started to get visited on a regular basis. So, and Cindy, it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, I get like physically nauseous, or I get headaches when I get around these entities. So then that's just the knowing part of things.
So we just wanted to share that with you guys, and in order to clarify, because there's been a lot of questions incoming about this, and there is a distrust of channeling, but honestly, if Cindy was to channel something like a direct, draconian energy, she wouldn't live. Her body could not survive. Even channeling these benevolent energies, I have to work on her afterwards because she's in such physical distress, just because of the vibrational frequencies. But in many, many, many times, we have had dark energies try to push us, countless times. I don't even know. We're probably in the thousands and not the hundreds. It happens on an almost daily basis. It's just par for our course. We're used to it. Thus, it becomes very, very easy to tell when something's benevolent and when something's malevolent. That's a cakewalk. That's just obvious. So we just wanted to share that. Hopefully that clarifies things for you guys. So there are a lot of sources out there that are still good to follow. Just take, again, everything. Don't take everything completely. Always weigh it. Weigh everything for yourself. It's up to you to decide. You to feel what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And again, we're encouraging everybody to try to develop these abilities in yourself. Because then you'll have the discernment. You'll know right away. You'll know right away whether something is malevolent, benevolent, trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Yeah, very, very important. And, we all can do it. We all have these abilities. It's just a matter of cultivating them, taking the time, making it a priority. And I know they make it very difficult right now. But with the incoming energies, if you can put some time into finding your center and finding out who you are so that you know what's coming in around you, you can tell, okay, that's not me, this is something else. These incoming energies are conducive to all of these things. They know we're waking up, and that's why they're in such a panic to keep us in so much chaos and running around and worried and fear. So we don't have the time or even really desire because we're so busy to develop the abilities.
Yeah, and again, I would say, how do you practice? How do you open your third eye up? So first, you stop drinking fluoridated water, you stop taking in simple sugars, processed foods, anything with fake dyes in it, no GMOs. You eliminate all those things. You turn off your router, turn everything off electrically when you're going to bed, so there's no energetic influences coming through there. Turn your cell phones off when you go to sleep, everything. And then basically start developing a good stable practice. Mantras are amazing. Mantras will tune up your chakras, look at your kundalini going. So, check out our mantra playlist or just type mantras into YouTube and Google. And there you go. Just start practicing them on a daily basis. They will do amazing things. They'll open up your chakras and get your kundalini flowing. As well as still meditation. QiGong is amazing for just getting your energy flowing and gathering and cultivating the life force. Because, again, you're gathering and cultivating the Holy Spirit when you draw it in consciously. And hold it in with the intention of it benefiting body, mind, and spirit. Have a sense of gratitude always. Try to have that sense of gratitude and give thanks always for, everything. Look at things as a blessing. So even though we're pointing out all the things that are going on in the world around us, in reality, this is an opportunity. And in the Vedic mindset, which also we get the Buddhic and Jhanic and other religions that came out and philosophies that came out of it, this is the only dimension. This is the only density for you to have the opportunity to go all the way back where you are basically in that oneness with, the God with the big G, prime creator, source. This is the only place where we can go that high up, even past the angelic and the Devic realms. And partly it's because there's such a duality here. It affords a tremendous opportunity for growth. So in that way, we are very, very blessed to be going through these times. And you are an eternal being. You can't be destroyed. The body, sure, just like a coat that rips, well, maybe it's time to get rid of it. The body is not you. You are not the body. The body is your vehicle for experiencing this density, this dimension. So we are here basically to help each other learn, grow, and pull each other up together, up into the higher densities where, there is basically the myriad of heavens out there. And, there are also basically, as we had spoken of, all those quote-unquote hells, which really are a construct of our mind when we are trapped into negative vibrations, negative feelings of selflessness, self, like you have no worth, and that you are cursed or, you're worthless. And those type of feelings are the feelings that are put in there by the dark ones, because then they could get you down into their vibrational state and start taking you over. And just like in the Matrix, the human body is a battery. Our emotions are a battery that these beings can, basically fuel themselves with the loosh. So when we're in the higher vibrational states and you're operating out of that feeling of divine love, the agape from the Hebrew, agape love. And it's also something that I've found in Kirtan and Bhakti Yoga. These are the same things. We just have different terms for it. It's all about cultivating that inner love and bliss that emanates out. And that's when we do that, then we're no use to them. That's like drinking poison to them. They can't handle that. They don't want that. That's why they create all the wars, they create all the conflict, all the left-right division, all the dogma, so they could keep us at their level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very important. They don't want to lose their, their working class. We're batteries for their system, really.
We're a flock for them. So it's time to get out of the flock and time to get into the right group as well, the ones that are lifting up vibrationally. So I hope that helps, guys. As always, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels. Stay safe out there. Keep your vibes high. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.